Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Easy Way to Learn. I'm Shailja Tripathi and today's topic of discussion is double circulation. So let's get started. Remain focused and follow the lecture. See, double circulation means blood flows twice in the heart before it completes one full round. That is, blood flows through the heart twice, once as oxygenated blood and once as deoxygenated blood. Okay, so basically this double circulation will include two circulations, that is pulmonary circulation pertaining to lungs and the systemic circulation, that is the general circulation or the major circulation. Okay, the short pulmonary circulation see, pulmonary pertains to lungs. So the blood flows into lungs. And the long systemic circulation. Long okay. See, systemic means general circulation or the major body circulation. You may write major body circulation. For this reason, the blood circulation in human body is called double circulation. For this reason, the blood circulation in human body is called or is also called double circulation. Okay, if you get a 2-marker question, so this much will be sufficient. If it is a 3-marker question, then you have to explain pulmonary circulation as well as systemic circulation. That I'll write down in a while. Let's understand pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation through a schematic diagram. See, our heart is 4-chambered, that we already discussed in previous video. So this is a schematic diagram to understand both the circulations. This is left side. So you write down left atrium or left auricle, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle. Okay, let's see. Lungs and remaining body parts. See, deoxygenated blood which comes into the right auricle will be pumped into the right ventricle. So deoxygenated blood is pumped into the right ventricle, and from the right ventricle it is carried by pulmonary artery into the lungs. Then with the help of pulmonary vein, it is brought back into the left atrium. Okay, so what happens? Deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle is pushed into or pumped into the lungs for oxygenation. So the pumping action is basically carried out by the ventricles. Auricles or atrium receive blood, and the pumping action, that is throwing blood out, is carried out by contraction of ventricles. See, this deoxygenated blood enters the lung. Here it gets oxygenated and returns to the heart as oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood is shown by red. So this portion is filled with oxygenated blood. So this part is known as pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation. So you can begin writing about pulmonary circulation from the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, or you can start writing, from the right ventricle, the blood is pumped into the pulmonary artery, which divides into two and goes into respective lungs, where oxygenation takes place, and oxygenated blood is returned to the heart in the left atrium through pulmonary vein. So veins and arteries, vessels which are carrying the blood or taking part in the circulation, you must be thorough with it. Okay. Next is systemic circulation. It begins with aorta. So the oxygenated blood will be pushed into the left ventricle by the contraction of this auricle or atrium. So atrium will contract and ventricle will relax to receive the blood. Once it has received the blood, it will pump the blood or throw out the blood into the aorta, which is the largest artery. So aorta will carry this blood to all body parts, where diffusion will take place, and blood will finally, after diffusion, it will get deoxygenated and it will be returned to right atrium as deoxygenated blood. So blood is leaving the heart as oxygenated and entering the heart as deoxygenated. So blood enters the heart. Once it enters the heart as oxygenated blood, and once it enters the heart as deoxygenated blood in one complete cycle. See, one thing you must remember, that in schematic diagram we write body parts just below the heart. But you must remember this, these body parts does not mean that we are talking about the body parts which are below the heart. No, this will also include brain or the upper parts of the body, that is chest region, arms, eye, ear, nose, all the head region. So it's a way of writing. So don't get confused that blood is being supplied to the lower part of the body and lungs is separate. Obviously, lungs is separate because this is the only organ where oxygenation is taking place. Okay, so let's write down how will you present the answer in your answer sheet. You may take the screenshot. See, in the schematic diagram, you can also mention all the veins and arteries. This is systemic circulation. The pulmonary circulation pertains to lungs and it starts in pulmonary artery. You can write it starts in pulmonary artery. Arising from right ventricle. Which soon divides into two. Which soon divides into two. And enters into two branches that enter the respective lungs. The respective lungs. That is left and right lungs. Then pulmonary vein collects pulmonary there are four pulmonary veins that enter the left atrium. So pulmonary vein collects this oxygenated blood and pour it into the left atrium. Collects the oxygenated blood from the lungs and carry it back to the left atrium of the heart. See, this is pulmonary circulation. So at least you must write this much to describe pulmonary circulation. You may take the screenshot. Next, I'll write down the systemic circulation. Systemic circulation, as the name suggests, pertains to major circulation, or the blood is circulated to all parts of the body. Oxygenated blood is circulated to all parts of the body. So let's see the systemic circulation. Or the major circulation. The systemic circulation pertains to major circulation. It starts from the aorta, or you can write it starts with aorta. Aorta is the largest artery that arises from left ventricle. So it will be carrying oxygenated blood. It sends blood to various parts of the body. It sends blood to various parts of the body and their tissues. From there, the diffusion of gas will take place in organs, and the blood will get deoxygenated. So from there, blood is collected by vena cava. Again, this is the largest vein in the body, anterior and posterior vena cava. Anterior will collect deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body, and posterior vena cava will collect blood from the lower part of the body, and both will join, and collectively they will enter the right auricle. You can write anterior and posterior. Anterior and posterior. And pour back into into the heart. So it will be poured into right atrium. Into the, you can write right atrium. Atrium of the heart. So this is the systemic circulation. So next we'll take up single circulation, which is present in fishes. So you may take a screenshot. The fishes have two-chambered heart. See, previously I mentioned that human heart is the most evolved heart, or mammalian heart is the most evolved heart. It is four-chambered. But the lower animals, if we see fishes, it has two-chambered heart. One auricle and one ventricle. So it has one upper chamber, auricle, and a lower chamber, ventricle. Then if we see amphibians, that is frog, and reptiles, they have three-chambered heart. See, three-chambered means they will have upper two chamber and lower ventricle. So left atrium, right atrium, and single ventricle. So blood, oxygenated blood from the left atrium and deoxygenated blood from the right atrium gets mixed. So the body receives mixed blood. Okay, in case of mammals and birds, there is complete separation of left and right half. So there is no mixing of blood. See, right atrium, left ventricle, sorry. So human heart, we see there is complete separation of left and right. So there will be no mixing of the blood. Here there will be mixing of the blood. In this case, blood flows through the heart just as in the form of deoxygenated blood, or venous blood flows through the heart. So here we say in fishes, we say blood circulation is single circulation. That I'll explain it in a while. Single circulation. Which is present in fishes, and fishes have two-chambered heart. Two-chambered heart. Okay, let's see how the circulation takes place. the blood from the body will be poured into the atrium. So atrium, which is the upper chamber of the heart, receives the blood from the body. So it is receiving deoxygenated blood. So atrium receives deoxygenated blood, and from the atrium it is poured into the ventricle. Okay, so this deoxygenated blood is going from the body into the heart, which is two-chambered. From the atrium, the blood will move into or is pushed into the ventricle. Now the ventricle will pump this deoxygenated blood into the gills, which is the organ of oxygenation. In our case, blood is getting oxygenated in lungs. In case of fishes, blood gets oxygenated in gills. So, blood is pumped into the gills for oxygenation. Now, this oxygenated blood will flow to the whole body. So this kind of circulation that it is carrying out is just a systemic circulation. That is, blood is moving from the body parts into the heart, then oxygen gets oxygenated, and then again returns back to the to the body. So here we see there is just systemic circulation. And blood enters the heart only once, and that too as deoxygenated blood. So this is called single circulation. So this is carried out in fishes. So you may draw this figure. And how you will describe it? Let's see. The difference between double circulation and single circulation is also asked in your board paper. See, you write heart receives in single circulation, heart receives only deoxygenated blood. Blood goes only once through the heart. During one cycle, of passage through the body. And this is called single circulation. That blood is going through the heart only once, and that too as deoxygenated blood. So this is called single circulation. Okay, you may take the screenshot. Next, we'll discuss few questions which are repeatedly asked in your board exams. See, one very common question that is often asked is why the walls of atrium are thinner than ventricle, or in a reverse manner, why the walls of ventricles are thicker than atrium. So I'll write down the question for you. Question is why the walls of atria thinner than the walls of ventricle. So the answer will be, see, atria are the two receiving chambers, upper chambers of the heart. They just receive the blood and they pump the blood or they pour the blood into the respective ventricle, which is very close by. That is, they are pouring blood or just pushing the blood into very next chamber, respective chambers. So they don't need to push blood away from the heart. It is, they are pushing the blood to a very short distance. Hence, the walls of the atria are thin. So you may write down the answer. So you can begin. This is because its major function is to receive blood from body and pump it into the very next ventricle. Let's take the next question. Our next question is why the walls of left ventricle are thicker or stronger than the right ventricle. Why the walls of left ventricle? The next question is walls of left ventricle thicker than right ventricle. Okay. If you are thorough with the diagram of heart and it's working, so you can frame your own answer. See, left ventricle is pumping the blood to all parts of the body. Firstly, you must understand ventricles contract, or they show the major pumping action. So when the ventricles contract, they will push the blood out of the heart. So left ventricle is pushing blood, or it is pumping the blood to all parts of the body, whereas the right ventricle is pushing the blood only to lungs, which is a nearby organ to the heart. So this is the reason. So you may write the answer. This is because you can write right ventricle I'm writing in short form, but in your answer sheet you will write complete spelling. See, right ventricle pumps blood only up to the lungs. And you know, lungs and heart, both the organs are present inside the rib cage. So it is pumping the blood only to lungs, which is a nearby organ. Whereas the left ventricle the left ventricle pumps it, or pumps the blood to the farthest point. Farthest point in the body, such as toes in your feet, toes in the feet, up to the brain, against the gravity. So its wall is much thicker. So this is the complete answer. So right ventricle pumps blood only up to the lungs, whereas the left ventricle pumps the blood to the whole body, farthest point in the body. Hence, the walls are thicker. You may take the screenshot. Next important question that is often asked is, what is the advantage of 4-chambered heart? or what is the advantage of complete separation of left and right halves of the heart? What is the advantage of complete separation of complete separation of right and left half of the lungs? We see complete separation of left and right halves in mammalian and aves. Aves means birds. So this separation, that is, it prevents mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. And we also know mammals and birds are warm-blooded animals. That is, they maintain their constant body temperature. That is, internal heat is required or internal energy is required to maintain the constant body temperature. Such animals are called homeotherms. Whereas if we see fishes or other animals besides mammals and birds, they are poikilotherms, that is, they are cold-blooded. That is, their body temperature will depend upon the environment or surrounding environment. So, internal body heat is not required to maintain the body temperature. It will change according to the surrounding environment. Hence, they require less energy. So, if mixing of blood is taking place, that will be sufficient for them. But in our case, or the mammalian or in case of birds, there should be efficient supply of oxygenated blood to the whole body parts, to tissues and cells to generate energy. So, let's write down the answer. See, complete separation of left and right halves of the heart does not allow mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Thus, this allows highly efficient supply. This allows highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body. animals like mammals and birds which are warm-blooded that is homeotherms. Need internal energy or internal heat to maintain their body temperature. Whereas rest of the animals, I'll write the answer here. While the animals that do not use internal heat or energy to maintain their body temperature are called cold-blooded or poikilotherms. For example, amphibians, reptiles, invertebrates, actually all creatures except mammals and birds. Fishes, etc. Actually, you can write all creatures except mammals and birds are all poikilotherms. So the animal can tolerate some mixing of blood. Some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. You may take the screenshot. Hope you understood the topic well. Please do like, share and subscribe the video. And in the next video, we will discuss about blood vessels and lymph. Thank you so much.